Antibiotics. You know what they are. But did you know that in the pre-antibiotic era, common infections that are easily treated today, like sore throats, were often deadly? Needless to say, bacteria spread was rapid, causing widespread epidemics that killed millions. The discovery of the superweapon didn't just revolutionize healthcare, it pretty much saved humanity. But now, we have a whole new problem: antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance happens when bacteria evolve to become, resistant to medicines, making infections harder or even impossible to treat. The drug-resistant bacteria can then be spread from person to person, increasing the risk of severe illness and even death. Antibiotic resistance is one of the largest threats to global health security today. Currently, more than 700,000 people die each year due to drug-resistant diseases, and if no action is taken, it could cause 10 million deaths by 2050. In Singapore, up to half of all infections acquired in hospitals are resistant to antibiotics. So why does this happen? One of the biggest reasons is the overuse and misuse of antibiotics. Practices contributing to the problem include storing and sharing antibiotics, not completing an antibiotic course, and requesting or consuming antibiotics when they're not needed. On top of that, there are a bunch of misconceptions that people have about antibiotic resistance or just antibiotics in general. For instance, many don't know that it's the bacteria that becomes resistant, not humans or animals. Also, antibiotics only kill bacteria. They are not helpful against viruses and cannot treat viral infections like the flu.
There have been efforts to curb the spread of antibiotic resistance, such as the World Antibiotic Awareness Week, which aims to raise awareness of the problem. Locally, campaigns like Use Antibiotics Right have been implemented to address the public's misperception that antibiotics are needed for minor ailments such as the common cold. However, knowledge and awareness weren't enough. Plus, those campaigns targeted the general public, which we feel is too wide a net to cast for real change to occur. Our campaign, Be Part of the Fight, aims to do better. We want to encourage youth aged 21 to 24 in Singapore to come together in a collective effort to fight antibiotic resistance. Why youths? We found that youths are more likely to have used antibiotics recently than older people. This stage is also where most start to take charge of their health and make their own medical decisions. We hope to leverage this and inculcate good practices from the get-go. Guided by the social cognitive theory, our impact objectives are to increase knowledge about antibiotic resistance and antibiotic use by 5%, to increase the sense of collective responsibility in fighting antibiotic resistance by 3%, and to increase the adoption of good antibiotic practices by 2%, specifically looking up information on antibiotic resistance, talking to family and friends about the issue, and discarding antibiotics currently stored at home. We conducted a survey with 50 members from our target group to measure their knowledge, attitudes, and behavior before exposing them to our digital campaign. On our Instagram page, we put up 3 main visuals, which aim to frame the fight against antibiotic resistance as a collective one. To support our key visuals, we put up supplementary posts consisting of bite-sized information. These messages help to address the knowledge gaps and prevalent misconceptions found during our formative research. A week after the exposure, we surveyed the same respondents again and achieved statistically significant results. Mean knowledge scores increased by 25%, the sense of collective responsibility increased by 21%, along with scores for perceived severity and susceptibility. 48% of our participants looked up information on antibiotic resistance after the campaign exposure, and conversations with family and friends about antibiotic resistance increased by 32%. Unfortunately, we weren't successful in encouraging people to discard their stored antibiotics. We felt that the reason for this could be that parents or other decision makers in the household were the ones in control of their medicine inventory, not our target audience. So, what's next? What does this mean and how can we do better? Well, our campaign could only realistically target behaviors they had an indirect impact on antibiotic resistance. We can't be certain that those actions have an impact on actual antibiotic use. We suggest that future campaigns with the support of more resources could look to target direct behaviors such as completing antibiotic courses and even antibiotic prescription by doctors. It is worth noting that since our campaign ran in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone is hypersensitive about health issues, and that could have affected our outcomes. Finally, while the angle of collective responsibility might have worked well in our local context, more research needs to be done on whether a similar strategy would be effective in cultures that value individualism, such as in Western countries. Political climate is also important, as trust in authorities and the politicization of healthcare need to be considered. Antibiotic resistance isn't something that can be solved overnight, but we believe that knowledge, good habits, and a sense of community is the first step in the right direction. So, be part of the fight against antibiotic resistance.
Yay! Finally! Okay.